This story is about a group of mostly black kids from the city visiting a group of mostly white adults on a tiny island off the coast of North Carolina. But this was not just any journey. This was a cultural exchange between two groups of writers, each with their own newspaper. But the moral of this story is not what you may think. The moral of this story is a question.
Yeah.
Yusuf! Hey, Yusuf!
Howard!
You gonna dance today? You gonna dance?
Dance?
Yeah,
I don't know. Yusuf always dance. That's not a question you ask.
That's
He always dance. The whole problem is I have 0 Pokeballs because I've caught like every Pokemon I've ever encountered.
I got a lot.
But look, I'll tap him on the shoulder. Brother, tap on the shoulder. We've locked eyes. Pokemon turn us locked eyes. We have to battle now.
True!
They will follow that rule too.
Okay, let's see what we can get back here in the back, y'all.
Me? I wanna get in the back.
No, put your bags in the back, not you, kid.
I'm gonna let y'all go ahead before I move this over there. And if there's more space, then yeah.
Looking.
That's good. I understand.
Brought enough snacks for everybody.
No, I didn't.
Oh, isn't she sweet?
No,
Yeah, she
just
is, isn't she? Thought about all of
I
us.
didn't. No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You thought about us all. You know you did.
It's for the fun and to see how a professional newspaper can be run too. And to get away from home.
Yes.
All those things are right. The only thing I didn't hear you say that I'm going to throw down on the table is this is an opportunity for you to write.
Yes.
Very different living on an island, y'all.
Sure.
And I mean, because you have to bring everything in, right? And as you're going to see, they don't lock their doors. We're off to Ocracoke with 6 kids. They're going to learn about island life. They're going to work on the Ocracoke Observer on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, about as far as you can go. Little Ocracoke Island, which is this isolated little community far from the mainland, reachable only by ferry.
I just want them to kind of get a taste more of what the real world is outside of Durham. What it's like to go into another town and report on the story. What's it like to kind of parachute into a town you don't know anything about? You got to come in and do a story. You got to mix with the locals, and I want them to get experience out of it.
I think it's pretty awesome because I've never been to pretty much the Outer Banks, so I think that would be pretty awesome to go out there and just experience a whole new place. I think it's interesting to see exactly how they do their stories compared to how we kind of do ours, like just comparing the two and seeing if there's something that we can improve on or they can learn from.
I think it'll be good to get out into a new community because, I've just been stuck in East Side Durham reporting.
It's like, I've never been there, so I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, if I get on a boat or something, I'm gonna fall. Like, I feel like I'm gonna fall. Get on the boat. If there are wild animals and stuff like that, ghosts, anything I need to know about, let me know. Please let me know.
That's what she's saying.
I ain't gonna Whoa, that boat is not that big.
I need to exit.
Get out!
Get out!
Get out!
God.
Bruce, you okay? You okay?
Screw you. Whatever you stand for. Wait.
Woo!
Yeah. I did the thingy.
I see it swinging a little bit. The bottle flip.
And I can't believe we're finally here after 2 years of planning and thinking and dreaming and pulling our hair out. I'll take your word for it.
Hello?
It's clear. It's
I'm looking over your shoulder.
It's kind of in and out right now, but the point is that this is clearer than it would normally be. And
If you zoom, yeah.
this is 2x zoom right now.
Cool. And you got that at the drugstore?
Yeah, I'm on 2x zoom right now.
Will that work on my camera?
It probably will, yeah.
We're stopping on the way back and getting me one.
I'm pretty sure I got that on recording. If I do, I'm saving it on Facebook.
It's really important for writers of all ilk to learn how to take notes in the field, to write in the field. That's what journaling is. The imagery exercise is Natalie Goldberg, Writing Down the Bones is the name of the book. And she's the one who taught me to use imagery as a way to break through people who cannot write or people who claim they're having writer's block. If you simply start with the exercise, I am sitting, well, you're already subject, verb, direct object. I am sitting on a bench, bam. So you're off to the races and on you go, and you've broken the mold, you've broken the writer's block.
I'm sitting on a bench while a calm breeze brushes against my skin. A view of the water is mesmerizing as a photo in front of me. The sounds of busy pens embracing a page.
All of my senses are being affected in some kind of way that is awesome. The wind is very breezy and soothing for me. The large body of water is moving with the sounds of the wind.
White fluffy puffballs upon a blue eternal valley, salty breeze making my taste buds jolt. Machines working upon grassy fields, working away a sweat. Stones of age, old age, underneath dirty hands of youth. Stable ground, unmoving motion of thousands of years. Clear pureness of the most dangerous element, wind. By the way, laughter between nature's beautiful children, calling and loving, amused at human nature.
Go home.
You don't need this. Go home. I mean,
You don't need this at all.
I was gonna do something similar. I was gonna do something similar, but
Every year, I get anywhere from 4 to 6 high school kids who are paid by this NGO as their after-school internship.
So PYO is a program in Durham, North Carolina that allows students who are as young as 8th grade to join to get vocational, academic support, as well as mentoring. We want to serve kids who get free and reduced lunch and or are first-generation immigrants or have had a family member incarcerated currently or previously.
The Voice, good community newspaper, is so much more than just ink on paper. I mean, I think it represents it represents the locale, the sense of place.
It kind of plugs in people who don't really watch mainstream news, they don't read mainstream news, but they still want to kind of know what's going on, and that's where the Voice comes in.
To see high school kids responding to the magic and the power of being able to communicate and to express themselves and to be able to make a difference, I think, in their communities. You know, here's this mirror of us, of you. It may be cracked, it may not be very perfect, but by God, we're going to celebrate the ordinary and we're going to make this place better. We developed a circulation of 2,000. We have 60 drop spots. We hand deliver them ourselves. So we go 15 to a church here, 15 to a beauty salon here.
You shouldn't feel nervous. You're with Jock and Coons and Joe and Julie.
That's right.
You got 3 J's and CK. I just tell our kids that you're probably going to be the darkest folks on the island. And I don't mean with a 10 either. It's going to be a interesting experience, but I think we're kind of used to it.
Pretty exciting. I mean, I like swimming. Oh, shit!
It's like 500 degrees.
Yep.
Nope, we gotta sit right here in this car the whole time. We're just gonna look at each other and sing songs.
Okay.
Lady, sing your song.
Is the air conditioning on? It's pretty hot.
North Carolina Ferry Division, ready vessel, Carteret. During this crossing, you will be traveling across Pamlico Sound, which is one of the largest inland bodies of water in the world. The motor vessel, Carteret, is 220 feet in length and has a width of 50 feet. It is capable of carrying approximately 53 vehicles and 300 passengers. When fully loaded, the vessel is capable of operating in less than 7 feet of water. There are two 805 horsepower diesel engines that power the ferry at an average speed of 12 knots. The North Carolina Ferry Division currently has 23 vessels, ranging from 125 feet.
It's pretty cool. Like, I like the wind blowing and stuff like that. It's really soothing. You beat the horn twice.
Hey!
What are you talking
I
about?
beat it again.
Don't beat that damn horn, girl. Now, if he shoots you, chill out.
If he shoots you,
I'm like,
And then I'll be like,
I'm gonna be like, yo, and then he gonna point back here and be like, yo, Hansel, don't shoot. But like, I'm alive. If he gets startled and shoot you,
I got kids at home. You can't shoot
I
me
hope
like
you don't
that.
die, but I'ma just laugh.
They're like, hey, bro, look, I got kids at
If he
home. You
pulls the
can't
gun
kill
out,
me.
period, I'ma just laugh.
You can't kill me. I got kids at home.
If he can be like, I'm just laugh.
That would be nice. You can't kill me. I got kids.
I'm gonna pretend to be dead. I'm already dead, bro.
I'm like, ah.
You can't do that. I'm already dead.
The Durham police laid down these concentric circles over northeast central Durham so that it looked like a bullseye. And that's what they called it. They called northeast central Durham, the cops called the northeast central Durham the bullseye. Well, who wants to live in a bullseye?
Hey, on WRAL or the NNO, the Herald Sun, there may be the top lead story about Durham is going to be this store got robbed. There was this shootout here.
I sort of feel like Durham gets a rap for being like a bad area.
Violence, like people getting killed on daily. So that's what mostly the Durham news talks about.
According to the news, no, we're not a hot spot. We're like it's like a collective ghetto as like a one place almost. That's what it seems like. It just seems like tragedy after tragedy, you know, slum after slum. That's just kind of how the news portrays Durham.
Especially now, Durham is changing and thriving for some people, and still overly oppressive for others. For our students, Durham doesn't feel like it's changing. It doesn't feel like it's offering them more opportunities.
And like they were shooting at the store, and they said we couldn't go there. And if we go there, we get suspended for 10 days.
But that doesn't scare you.
You know, and they still went there anyway, so it don't really matter.
Yeah. So you're just used to that living and then
Yeah.
in town.
Yeah, basically, I'm just used to like hear gunshots and stuff.
We started The Voice with the belief that it was going to serve a neighborhood that you would call an urban news desert. You read about that neighborhood mostly in the police blotter. And if a neighborhood is only reading about itself when they're seeing mugshots of folks arrested or reading about themselves in the crime news, you're going to get a pretty jaundiced view of how the world looks at your community, and you yourself might think it's a pretty awful place, a pretty hopeless place.
What's your name?
Gwen. Thank you for. Why are you looking up?
Peter. Bruce. Okay. Yusuf. Okay.
Julie.
Hi, Peter.
This is a totally different landscape for y'all, right?
Oh, yeah, living on it.
And are you guys ready to spend time with teenagers?
You betcha.
Because that might be a totally new landscape for you.
Listen,
too.
yesterday I was a teenager too.
And again, the old clunker, the older the better. Less likely, we don't have a lot of bike thefts at all, but you don't want a good bike. It gets beat up here. You know, too much sand.
Three in the golf cart.
You see there's just a car. You can hold on to that. But we don't need seatbelts.
I just
Look, all right?
All righty then. Yes, you are.
That's
You can
not
sit right out
right.
here. Right out there.
No, because I was here before both of y'all.
What you mean?
All y'all, all three.
No, you weren't. All three of them. Not me though.
I was here.
I got here first.
No, I got him first. I'm saying. I was
You ain't
going
get
to
here.
Yes, I did.
I got here first.
The boys in this room.
I'll sleep out here with you.
I want to sleep in that
Miss Julie.
room.
Is there any objection to us males sleeping in this room?
Why don't you just sleep right there? I don't want to sleep right there. Because if I hear some...
Is there any objection to us males sleeping in this room?
There's a lot
of locked doors. Yeah, I don't like the locked doors idea. That's where demons hide. But I love these windows. They're like so cool. But they like to store outside a little bit, which makes it even cooler. I wanna be. So I like it. That no one ever was.
Dun, 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 dun. This is all the stuff that we dip in, you know. This is all like, I'll have to show you how to do this stuff.
I gotta get this on.
And we got lemons, and we got butter. Melted butter. Oh, it's really good to dip it in butter.
What's that? What's the black thing?
Those are mussels. They're kind of like clams and oysters.
I've never tried crab legs before.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
this is my
that's what
first
we're
time
doing.
eating crab legs.
That's what we're doing. Peel it with your hands like this. Yeah.
Oh, take
Dip it in the
that.
butter. Dip it in the butter. And you dip it in butter.
We dip it in the butter.
Oh, you gotta try clams. Clams are very sweet.
I heard clams
See
and
here.
oysters are really good, but I've never had them.
Here, see what you do is you take your fork and just, and you just
scoop it out?
put it in the butter.
Before.
Yeah.
After.
I've never had shrimp that I actually had to peel. Never had mussels. Never had clams. Still not gonna do the crab legs. I'm not really a big fan of that. I ain't nothing.
When you do something,
I know.
don't make it something you'll regret not doing. So say if I want to go jump off a pier, but if I don't do it and I regret it, that's a bad thing.
No.
But if you do it and die,
Well, not really. But
well, you can't really regret what you did when you died. But
Demographics is very different from most places where we have no African American enrolled in the school. We have a couple of older adults.
And the memory of the Durham Voice is like after some of my articles got out, I saw some of my relatives and friends say, "Hey, I read your article from the Durham Voice." I was like, "Oh, you did?" I was very proud and happy with that. So just my first time ever pretty much being on a ferry where I can remember. And actually going to an island because I've never been to nowhere out of the pretty much United States that right there. Not United States. The mainland. This is still the main. I know this is really United States. I'm just saying
This is the real
the main baby.
tattoos. This is Blackbeard's flag.
lit on tonight. Straight up. Okay, here it's gonna be right here on the chesticle region. Thank you so much. The chesticle.
No flash. VH1, no flash photography. I got in trouble at school and I went to Rebound. It's a place for kids that got suspended. This other boy beside me was talking. The teacher thought it was me because I was talking before. So he automatically assumed it was me and put me out of the classroom. I kind of cussed him out a little bit. Just a little. I cussed him out a little bit. And then the principal was standing right there and he was like, "Come with me." And then he was like, "You got either ISS or Rebound." So I chose Rebound because I'm not going to sit in the ISS. The room's cold, so I didn't really want to talk to him before I got in this program. So, now I can, but before then I couldn't do it. So I brought a few newspapers to my school, and the next day, people were telling me, you know how Snapchat you can take the picture and say, people were sending me the story, and I was like, how did y'all get this? I only sent a few. They were like, "Oh my God, this is Christian," and then they were taking pictures, sending it to me. I was like, okay, I get it. I wrote the story. I see it, but I'm good. I'm proud of my work. My first story is school times changing, how they change the times next year and everything. Many parents have problems dropping students off or picking them up. If their work schedule is not flexible, transportation can be a big issue in more ways than one.
folks are going and my car need to go right now. So this is LL Cool Fake. Jay. I'm Jay. Oh my God. Squirrel. Now. He said that cost. Because it's through the wall.
This is Emily Schwenninger. She grew up summers on Ocracoke since she was a baby.
Yeah.
Pas de français, hein?
No, there's also, exactly, my French comprehension is pretty good.
Yeah.
I wish I could take some time to study French and be better, but I'm in meetings and, you know, because I'm working with...
I see to you, I'm really good to you.
I saw a rare sighting of a black lady. Yes. This is crazy. Like, we officially have to go back and know her name. Like, we
we'll
have
see
to.
her again.
We have to
You'll
invite her
notice.
over for dinner because we don't know when we're gonna see another one.
I don't know about
We have no clue when we're gonna see another one.
It's actual trees. I mean, this is bushes and such.
Already know.
Y'all feel the current?
Yes, I do.
I have not been swimming since I was little. I have not been to a beach and actually got into the water like that since I was little. Yeah, I like the beach. It's a very calm place. I'm just not really into the whole getting in like that yet.
Well, you can do this.
I like
Durham, North Carolina, all of those shells will be gone about 8 o'clock because people in Durham steal stuff for no reason. It's idiotic and stupid and not smart and any other way to say it's dumb.
I'm just doing some research for the story that I'm doing about Equatorial Guinea. Just doing some background research.
It was me, by the way. I lost count of the minutes because I was counting it out in my head.
42 seconds.
And I can't exactly count 10 minutes in my head correctly.
So I decided to interview Emily, and she's doing the I have a hard time saying it. Equatorial Guinea. And I wanted to interview her about that because she's traveled a lot and she does a lot of work with HIV prevention, and I think that'd be interesting. I'm not really sure what questions to ask her. Can y'all help me out?
Can we help her out? What should we ask her now?
How did it feel going from mainland to island culture and then switching back again and then continuing to travel?
In the story on the girl.
Yeah, speak up, kid. I can't hear you, man.
I'm writing the story on the girl. She's a senior, and she's a senior this year, and she got her own business with the smoothies.
What is it about that made you interested and want to take that one?
Because I want to know how she got all that, and she's just a senior. That's a lot.
Okay, cool. You want to write your questions?
Like what exactly is her daily schedule since she's a high school senior? Like how does she balance that with the business that she runs?
How many you got there? We're gonna make sure everybody's got 5 good ones.
I think the story that I was going to do was about the food situation, like how they would deliver on Thursdays, early Thursday mornings.
Yeah. Milk does at least.
Milk comes twice a week.
Yeah, milk comes. Yeah, you're right.
I don't know much about my story. All I've heard that he's a judo guy. I've heard that he's really high ranked. So I wanted what motivated him to first of all do judo in the first place like that, and then
it's a form of martial arts. Where you take,
And he's a firefighter. I was like,
how cool is that?
I was like, so like, why did you
break your arm, man? Break your window and save you.
Bruh, like break your window, judo flip you back through the window onto the ground, the arm wrestle the check to catch you. Bro, it's like he'd break open your window, judo flip you through the window, and the arm wrestle the check to catch you. Like, what's up? Come here.
That's a
Odell.
I spent every day with Yusuf for 5 weeks from 10 to 3 in the afternoon. That first summer he was with us before he went to The Voice. He didn't speak a full sentence to me for the first 4 weeks. I just don't know if he was ready to like show the world who he was. And that's not Yusuf anymore.
The Yusuf before The Voice was kind of more on the quiet side, not really expressing himself, more staying, like keep to myself. And The Voice, it meant like a lot. Like it taught me a lot of different things that I didn't even know I could do. Like I didn't know I could really write a story or interview people like that. I do have like more confidence in myself because I think I really didn't show too much confidence. Like in the old Yusuf and the new one, like pretty much has a lot of confidence in himself. He feels he can be more social. And, like the first story I did was about like the Million Man March that I went to. Like just my journey like to Washington DC. Experiencing the Million Man March by Yusuf Shaw. 20 years ago, October 16th, 1995, found millions of men driving, flying, and riding buses to Washington DC for the Million Man March. The event had a major impact on the lives of people who went and wanted to see change in the way government is run and injustices on the generation during that time.
Have at least 3 sources. That's kind of like how we roll at The Voice. And at least get something down on paper so that we can get everything wrapped up by the time we launch here. So you want one of our customers and maybe talk to her mom or dad.
Yeah,
and bam.
Yeah. I would talk to her mom because her dad might see me. Talk to her mom.
I came here to work and enjoy an island.
Yeah.
But mostly to work.
Come on.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to take the girl bar?
Yes, please.
Is that your expectation?
Yeah, I'd like to give an orientation about what's doing.
As far as just them developing as writers and photographers, oh my goodness. The difference between when we get them in August, by the time they're gone in May, they're just different people entirely.
I did learn judo when I was a little kid, and I found out during the years then if I didn't do judo, my life was going to be very different. I have seen very, very good results, changing behavior, changing attitude, changing life in general.
Do your editing after Russian, just so long as you know you've got
That's awesome.
the right exposure and the focus, all that. Okay? Because you're missing
Probably,
shots while you're
I have to take them somewhere else, but I can take Cool, awesome. All right, well, go ahead. You guys keep interviewing. Do you want me to take Yusuf over to the writing school?
Yeah.
You go with us, John?
Yeah, I will.
You guys okay today?
Spending, equal time with every student is important. But have you ever had a student that just needed a little bit more help than others? Because there are some of us who are slow learners who, like, when we come into something new, have a slow start and end up a little bit behind everyone. It may need a little bit more help and a little bit more learning. Have you ever had, one or more students like that who you needed to help just a little bit more?
The way the judo is, it doesn't require me to be that way because all of us, we are a team.
It was really nice to meet you. It was great to interview you. I'm so glad I got the chance to talk to you because you're such an interesting person. Just your philosophy on judo and how judo affects life and everything you do was really great to hear. And just the way you teach reminds me of a teacher I used to have who would always take the same amount of time with every student, would always coach us through the things we need to go through. And I really think that's how teaching should be done, no matter what you're teaching.
You did pretty good.
When I do interviews, I just don't ask them questions. I kind of go back and forth, like you were saying, and then that prompts another question, or prompts more back and forth.
Yeah.
With people. See, that's about the biggest. You heard that? That's with ferry leaving. The ferry, they've got to beat the horn when they leave. That's like the loudest sound around. Sometimes the church bells ring, but they used to ring every day at like noon until Philip Howard said, "Stop that! too much noise, jeez." So they don't do that anymore. What happened? Did she go to Kaylee? Did she talk to Kaylee?
Yeah, but I gotta go back to take pictures because Glenn and him had the camera.
Customer, you need my camera?
I think
She went out there without a camera.
Glenn and him had the camera.
Well, you need to be prepared.
Oh,
Should have thought of that.
I couldn't think of it because they had the camera.
Newspapers need people, different perspectives. They need reporters who have a different perspective. The newspaper industry, when I was there, it was very white. And, you could write your own ticket if you get interested in this and want to do this and you're good at it. Your sky's the limit.
Do
you do a lot of phone calls?
Definite first. Usually it's like almost like what Yusuf did. It's usually like I'm going to their office, and then we sit in the office, and I'm usually like across the desk, and I'm trying to jot down as much as I can, and just asking them questions back to back to back. I've never really done like
sitting at
on the road.
Yes, and then you can add color, you can add the flavor, and then we dashed over here. Like what is the most? Tell me a story that really inspired you about this, or why do you love what you do? Now, in between, she had to go pick up her medicine for kids. I'm dashing to the health center as an arts manager. I was involved in a ton of nonprofits, I'm here. I'm involved with 4 nonprofits now too. Wait, let me go get the. I gotta get what I gotta get.
I would have to say this was like the easiest interview I've ever done.
How's that?
The easiest interview because she's a reporter, so she's kind of most likely gonna know what I'm gonna ask before I even ask it, so she's gonna answer it for me. But it's easier because I can not really relate, but there's a lot of good information that she's telling me.
It's a health center. It's a family health center. It's a private nonprofit. I gotta get some money. They're only open, Monday through Friday.
One question I do have.
Sure.
Did y'all come into the idea like right away, like, oh yeah, we're just gonna buy it together, become business partners, or was it like, no, I want it, then I want it,
no,
and then you just kind of?
No, Peter, remember he was saying let me just go pay for this a second.
The whole like, oh, no locked doors, like when they said, oh yeah, they really don't lock their doors down here, I was absolutely astonished. I was like, you don't see that anymore, especially like where I'm like from. You just don't see that.
I know.
It's like you have to lock your doors, lock your windows, put on the alarm so that even if somebody does kind of try to come in, the alarm will scare them away or this, that, and the third. It's not just like I'm about to go out here and do whatever I want and just leave the door unlocked,
That's right.
I don't have to really worry about
That's
anything.
Right.
The first thing I wrote for The Voice was like a column. It was about school suspensions. And that would because the reason why I was writing it is because I was in a school suspension at that time, and it was for no reason, just about no reason. So I was just the whole injustice in it. I wanted to write about it. Oh, this is actually not that bad, because I went in with the whole pre-notion I had on English period, which is, I'm talking about writing, I don't want to do it. But then it was I'm actually writing about something I want to write about. Every day I figured out something new with myself, because I've changed like a lot because of this job, because of the little things I found out. Like, I don't get as mad as I used to anymore because I found all these art outlets, because a lot of the stories I was writing about mainly pertain to art. You know, the big poets and book writers say, like, when they put a pen to a paper, like, just all their emotions just drain out into the page. It's actually, like, really like that. Even with that first story, it was the same way. It was just like everything was just going out. And that was, like, even before I was really, like, passionate about it. And I liked that feeling. Dance is life by me. Dance has always been a part of my life. I have always used dance as a way to get through things that stress me. If my mom stresses me out, I go downstairs and dance. If I have a hectic day at school, I go home. I put on some music and I freestyle until I calm down. For me, money and material things do not equate to happiness, but dance, it is life.
Well, come in, sit down, go ahead and type it up. Had the interview questions together, had the background together.
Back when I was young, I had one really good teacher, and it set a really high standard for me when it comes to teachers. Like a teacher who can, given that circumstances were much better then, we had a smaller class where a teacher could designate time to everyone. But still, I just feel like that's my ideal type of teacher, one who gives equal time to every student and makes sure everyone gets a chance to work with everyone, that everyone in the class knows each other and works as a unit. Teachers nowadays, I don't see that.
Interviewed her yet? Is it too?
And coming out here and, thinking I'm gonna just write a story about this judo master and figuring out that there's a whole different side to him is really amazing. And I feel like that's something that should be highlighted about him. I've been boxing since I was really young. And, I had a really good sense for boxing. And just, relating to that, he reminds me a lot of him. Because he's passed now. But, for these kids here, to have someone like that to be able to teach them, is just really amazing. Because I know that's a big part of what shaped my life, was having good teachers. Before I started boxing, I was really violent, offbeat, and, overall disrespectful. And now it's just once I started boxing and then got to know that teacher, it was my life just kind of mellowed out. I really just hope that they have a way to relate to the stories. Maybe they had a really good teacher or would like to see teachers like this now, and just maybe it might change the system a little bit.
And that's something you can do through your journalism.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, not only about her and what I'm writing my story about, but I learned a little more about the island and how life here is, and I'm kind of doing a little more comparing and contrasting from life in Durham versus life here. It's very different. Island mentality of being of being nice and very helpful to others and different things like that. I'm definitely gonna bring that back, at least from myself, and maybe I can, not influence people or get people to, see that in me and want to do it themselves, and maybe start to change Durham little by little.
Just interviewed the smoothie girl, Kaylee, and she gave me a free smoothie, but we paid for it. We tipped her. She run the business on her own. That's her own personal business.
And how old is she?
17.
How old are you?
17.
So what do you think?
It's a big difference. For me and her, it's a big difference because she doesn't live in the city, so she got more options.
You don't think you could do that in Durham?
No, I mean you could, but you have to pay a lot of money for the stuff. It's not free. Like she just her aunt. That's her aunt's yard, and she just had a building right there. And she just made it into a smoothie shop. We can't do that. We gotta get a permit and stuff. We gotta be a certain age to be able to do a lot of stuff.
You don't have any family members that can give you land like that?
Nope.
Would you want to do something like that?
Yeah, most of my family members are either dead or some of them live very far away. So
None of them probably have that kind of money to...
yeah, that's the most part, the money.
Journalists have the power to expose and give light to any subject or any person who might not otherwise get the spotlight they deserve. And I think that's really powerful, like, you know, pointing out the little men who might not be the most popular out of the crowd. You know, they do stuff too, and they should be recognized for it.
Hopefully this is what they're gathering, that, you know, even though you might feel like you don't have a voice, you do have a voice, you do have power, you know. It's like I was telling you, and I tell them all the time, you're not what they tell you you are. You are not what society tells you are as a young African American male or a young Latino male or, you know, a female or whatever. You don't have to be that. You're whatever you say you are. And I just feel like when we give them this outlet, this avenue to share the stories that they want to share, it just makes what it is that they do that much more powerful.
This used to be the old firehouse. Up until a few years ago. Now they have the new big fancy firehouse that's on Highway 12 over by the bank.
Guess why this is important?
Oh.
Because we don't know why this matters.
Because we was just at the Oak Crow variety store.
Okay.
And the owners was talking about how they kind of donated land for the new
firehouse.
Yeah.
But this is the nice thing about living on Ocracoke. You can do this stuff. Look at your resume, you know. Hey, I did radio, or I performed in a play, or I played music, or my artwork was displayed, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's no end to what you can do on this island academically, and it shows. We're doing so good. Ocracoke School, it's controversial, but they decided to grade this school. Everyone got a grade. Ocracoke got an A. We're the only one in Eastern Carolina, by the way, that got that high grade. Okay? 10 out of 11 kids that just graduated are on to college, as I explained to you earlier.
You want to play Jackson 5 or Michael Jackson?
Put it on your radars. If you get some free time tomorrow and want to come in and do a show with me, just get your 10 songs together.
Don't have to tell them twice.
Do you know the Joseph Pedicure foot massage?
That related artist.
You know that dance?
Love it.
And I'll ask her a few, personal questions specifically about her moving from Greensboro to Ocracoke.
So now to see what we're doing, we're kind of prepping what we're going to, but this is going to be a conversation, it's not scripted. But we just want to go over some things, and I know there's a lot of human rights violations with the dictator, what's his name there over there? He's been in power for 25 plus years.
Yeah, I read that it was a dictator.
I don't want to.
Hey, welcome to WOVV. You've been on the air before, huh?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, tell us a little bit. You've actually grown up here on Ocracoke in many ways, your summers, etc., right?
Yeah, my parents built a house, and in the last 4 or 5 years I've been working in Africa. I started off in Mozambique.
Equatorial Guinea, Mozambique, health issues, and a little bit of music from Africa, so.
It's been a pleasure.
I did Natasha's interview 2 years ago at PYO, and I'll never forget her interview. She couldn't make eye contact. It was really hard for her just to answer any kind of question about herself. She wasn't comfortable speaking about herself. She didn't have a very large social circle at all. One of the questions I asked her was like, what's her biggest dream? And she said, I just hope to be invited to a party.
Oh my God, when this kid started out a year ago, she couldn't even look me in the eye.
I've always felt like sort of closed off from everything for most of my life. But when I draw, I can like make anything, and sometimes that's really overwhelming. But yeah, it feels freeing, and it's really awesome to have that freedom. I get like the same feeling when I'm writing too.
Now she can do these killer interviews. She can sit down and teach you about things that she's researching for the paper. She's got all this self-confidence. She's about to move to New York to go study anime.
Just the communication with people I found really helped me in the long run, because I was like really antisocial, and of course when you're a journalist, we're like forced to talk to people. So yeah, that really, I think in the long run, it really helped me socially as a person. This, I got this.
Open your mouth, cough, sniffle, anything, because I don't want any mucus.
For generations, Black women in America have straightened, permed, and
Hold on,
altered.
real quick. Before you start, I want you to overpronounce every word. So like, for generations.
For generations, Black women in America have permed, straightened, and altered their hair in order to be presentable in the world we live in and live up to white beauty standards.
Yeah, that was good.
That's stylist Brandy Dunn. As a teenager, she worked against her hair's natural texture in order to look like those girls on TV. She used chemicals and heat.
Boom, that's the one. Next.
So at her shop, she refuses to chemically alter Black women's hair.
Boom, that was perfect. You don't have to do that again.
I love my hair, and I'm not the only one. I recently saw an article in Vogue that had white models wearing bantu knots, or mini buns as they call them. This is uncool on so many levels. These styles were created by Black people, and for me, as a young Black woman, this example of appropriation makes me feel like someone is slowly plucking each individual hair from my head. My natural hair is a very important part of who I am. I will never change it for a job, a group, or anyone else, because I love it, because it is me.
Yeah!
2 years to see her grow from someone who was really uncomfortable just being in the same room as somebody to somebody who can, be a teen editor for a community newspaper is crazy.
I will run your fade so fast.
Of course you will.
Just because you might grow up in different places, you might be different races, different economic statuses, at the end of the day, we're all kind of like the same, That's basically what I got out of that bonfire with them that night, They were all around the bonfire just like we do on our PYO trips, making s'mores, roasting marshmallows, roasting hot dogs, just enjoying the night. And that was kind of powerful for me. Just what she said was, it's just like our kids when they see a shopping mall for the first time. I'm like, wow, that's just like it is for my kids when they go to a restaurant with a salad fork with us, So I thought that was the most powerful thing that I kind of got out of it all, Even though you're on an island over here and these kids are in the inner city, they're more connected than we might realize.
want to change their voice or alter their voice. Their voices need to come through. So the idea, it's kind of like shaking a pot, isn't it? You don't want to mess with a pot. The pot's going to do what it wants to do. So you need to let it be. So it's a different sort of editing.
So I can't agree with your last statement.
What's up?
You said, unfortunately, population-wise, Durham doesn't have the necessary teacher-student ratio for this. Well, in my kids' class, there's only like 5.
I mean, as a whole. Durham as a whole.
That's too opinionated. We're slapping that.
Opinion? You know how many freshmen we had this year? We have no teachers anymore.
Right, like my senior year, senior teachers were like leaving school in the middle of the semesters. Seniors have no teachers at all outside high school.
At least last year.
See, I think that you buried the lead. Okay, the lead is the first sentence. You know, yeah. See, maybe that's the beginning. It's kind of like these two folks from up north retired down here and saved this old newspaper, which you put at the end. So, I'm not going to write this for you, but how about you somehow put that at the beginning? That is just not, whoever told you that? Was he talking about texting?
I learned a lot about commas in the past few seconds. I learned that Jock likes to take people on when commas are involved. As a professor, he's just like, yeah, no, run my fade.
Can you clarify your fade speak?
Okay, so told Eric just here. Running someone's fade.
I've been learning
pretty much. It just means that you're going to fight them. You are going to hand them their ass. Okay. That is what running someone's fade is. But if you could so kindly direct this, there, that.
Okay. There are specific rules.
Okay. Well, Island Judo Sensei delivers wisdom through struggle. Because that was Sensei started out as just another kid in Bogota, Colombia.
The Story of Ocracoke Observer by yours truly, Bruce Wilkerson. This is the story of two retired journalists, Connie Leenbach and Peter Van Vankevik. I hope those are right.
He presents himself as a man of pride when speaking about teaching others judo. Sensei is a teacher who gives every student equal time no matter who the student is. This is the best way to teach.
People want to read about people, she said.
The Voice and the Observer are actually really, really similar in my opinion. Because in both local papers, they really mainly just focus on what's local, not what's, this is happening in the Senate. It makes me feel a little good because when I read theirs, it was like, it wasn't like, it blew ours out of the water when it comes to content or anything. It's actually pretty like similar, and then us being teenagers writing it, it's like, that's amazing on Kuntz and Jock's part for teaching us so well. So then it's almost like we are just regular, everyday, I've been working in journalism for years, writers.
Well, to be frank, recently all I've heard is about my people dying. The problems that people are having now are completely different from the stories that need to be told. We're telling stories of these problems. Yes, I understand that needs to be out there. But what you need to do is give people a reason to not have these problems. Give them things to work towards.
If we were a news station, we would be the news station that talks about the good things. It wouldn't be like, this kid got shot here. Because that's going to be everywhere.
There are really good people who have really big hearts who I've interviewed and gone around, and if you just go around and talk to some people, you'll figure that out.
If the community reads that it's doing positive things, it's going to want to do more positive things so it can read more and just put itself in this positive cycle.
Ocracoke has had a distinguished group of visitors here this week, and they're the Durham-voiced young students who are doing reporting and getting their impressions here. And I'm just giving them an opportunity to talk on community radio today. Gwendolyn Payne, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you, Peter?
Good. What do you think about your visit here to Ocracoke?
I will miss this place when I go home, honestly. I've been messaging my mom recently, telling her about the stuff we've done and sending her videos and stuff, and she...
I'm not sure. I'm just a guest, and I'm answering for Peter right now because he's on the air, but if you want to leave your name and number, I'll make sure he calls you back.
Hey, Bruce Wilkerson, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
What do you think of Ocracoke?
It's actually like what I've pictured. A place that I could live because of how everyone treats each other. Everyone treats each other with compassion and love and respect, and everyone walks around with a big smile on their face, and it's just like you feel very like comfortable in a place like this, and you can, trust, just everyone. And plus it's not huge, so I like to get to know people, so it'd be easier for me to get to know my neighbors and people in the surrounding island, I guess.
Yeah. How old are you and what grade?
I'm 17 and I'm about to be a senior in high school.
Yeah. What school are you going to?
I am either going to go to a school called Northern High School, or I'm going to be going to a school called Riverside High School.
Okay. And what's your big interest there for the next few years?
Next few years, I'm a really big dancer. And so what I really want to do with my life as in a career is dancing. And so I'm going to take a couple of dance classes. I'm thinking about going to UNCG because I read up on their dance program and it's pretty amazing. So that's kind of my next couple of years of my life.
And how long have you been writing for the Voice?
For just a few months. I've been with PYO for a year now, but I just started working a couple of months ago with The Voice.
It's Partner Youth Opportunities? Yeah. And that's in Durham there, so...
Yeah.
So what'd you think of Ocracoke? And, was this your first time as well?
Yeah,
right?
This is definitely my first time. This is, I've been out of North Carolina, but I've been to the Outer Banks, and that's about as close as I get. I've never been to, Ocracoke, so this is definitely a good first.
Yeah, good. Well, we're so glad to have you. What was your topic now you covered?
I actually wrote on your newspaper, about your newspaper.
The Ocracoke Observer, huh?
Yep. Actually, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you did you learn anything from us?
Oh, did I learn anything? That's an excellent question. When we're talking about this, and this has been in the plans for actually 2 years. Last year we had a kind of a situation we had to postpone it till this year. So we've been thinking about this, Bruce, for 2 years and all of that. And here's our view on this. This is a small community newspaper, and basically it serves the community, but you also write it in a way that would be attractive for visitors to read, and that's a really narrow one there. And we always look out for input, in terms of doing that, and having an opportunity to exchange and share our views of how a newspaper works with you guys are in a city, and you're youth oriented, and you have a focus there, and it gave us an opportunity to look carefully at your newspaper. And and you're very similar. You do a print and you do online as well.
Yep.
And you look at your resources and all of that. So it's been very, very helpful for us. And but your enthusiasm is contagious there. That's another reason why that's not a tangible. You can't put that in in a thing. But it's just been a joy to chat with all of you and get your impressions of that, because as a reporter, you have to have that eye of looking out and and seeing how all of you were observing things and asking these types of questions helps us to give us a little focus on it as well. So that help answer your question?
Absolutely.
So, well, that's Bruce Wilkerson. Bruce, you had a song too here.
I don't think he learned about jack about us. I personally think that we're very story-worthy. However, I don't think he understands just how much we are.
Hey, everybody needs different experiences to enlarge in their view. And glad you guys could come. I hope you enjoyed it.
What I learned about myself is that I'm really good at adapting to different environments and to different people, and I didn't really think I had that before, but now I know I can adapt to any situation.
You know, you guys have courage, and you're not afraid to do it, and that's important. Not afraid to take risks. Right. Get out there. You guys have a lot of courage.
We owe a debt of gratitude to you guys. So thanks again, and let's thank these guys for a great dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Coming back for the food. Thank you very much.
Coming back for the fridge stuff.
In many ways, this is a simple story about a group of kids from Durham who transform themselves and their communities through writing. But it's also about the small moments that speak to bigger things. More than one moment or person, we've learned a lot from adults. We're here to say, we hope you've learned from us. At the beginning, I told you, the moral of the story was a question. The question is not whether we have a voice or if we have something to say. We've shown you that. The question is, are you listening? I've experienced a lot of disappointment in my 18 years on this earth. These disappointments have been brought on by a number of factors. Difficult situations, other people, and myself. I was very isolated as a child. I didn't have many friends because of my lack of human interaction, but I'm not complaining. I wasn't exposed to a lot of negativity outside of my family until I started school. When I began school, I started interacting with other kids my age. I realized just how mean people could be. I don't remember being bullied necessarily. I remember this almost palpable sense that I didn't fit in. This feeling would continue throughout middle school and well into high school. In the summer leading to high school, I remember having the very optimistic idea that it would be awesome. I would finally be free from the horrors of middle school and have so much freedom than I'd ever had before. In some ways I was right, but in others I was very wrong. I didn't take into consideration that many of my incoming classmates hadn't changed their image of me, a quiet, awkward girl, and I myself was still the same person that they remembered. So the end result was that nothing really changed, or at least I felt like nothing changed. I was very disappointed in how things were turning out and the never-changing loop that I always seemed to find myself in. Eventually I became very depressed. I was just so mad at myself for not having the guts to reach out to my peers. And to this day, I feel like I missed out on a lot of good opportunities and friendships that I could have had with my classmates. I know that this divide does not exist only because of me, but I'm still disappointed in myself. In my junior year of high school, after joining Partners for Youth Opportunity, I became an intern journalist at the Durham Voice. When I worked there, I wrote articles and I had to interview people in the community. While doing this, I realized just how many remarkable people lived here, especially people who ran different nonprofit community building building organizations and charities. I got to connect with people, young and old, who perform selfless acts like volunteering, planting, and setting up free libraries for young children. Through my experience at The Voice as an intern and as the editor-in-chief, I have learned that it is important to meet and communicate with others, not only for the benefit of learning about them and what they stand for, but also because it will give you a new viewpoint on life that you may not have had before. I'm going off to college this fall, although I am afraid that I will put myself through the same old loop of isolation again. I'm going to do everything I can to get involved in campus clubs, organizations, social events, and make a true effort to get myself engaged in the community that makes me feel supported and loved as I did when I worked at The Voice. And hopefully I'll have a happy ending to write about at the end of my own story. Thank you.